Hi there, hello, hi there, I'm Clifford Bates, and welcome to reading Machiavelli's Discourse. We're continuing in Book 1 today. We're continuing next after Chapter 31. So we're doing Chapter 31 today. And we're continuing on from the theme that was less the question of what to do republics and princes do with the ingratitude, and the question of what about the captains and how they can avoid the punishment of the gratitudes of either republics of this. Now, Chapter 31 is that the Roman captains were never extraordinarily punished for an error committed, nor were they ever punished when harm resulted to the republic through their ignorance or through bad policies adopted by them. So therefore, this is the question. In other words, they were never extraordinarily punished for an error committed them, nor were they ever punished when a harm resulted to the republic through their ignorance or through bad policies, right? So they didn't really punish them. So he goes, let's look at this. This is talking about the early republic. The Romans, as we have discussed above, not only were less ungrateful than other republics, but also were more merciful and more hesitant in the punishments of their captains, of their armies, than any other, right? This is, again, let's look at this. This is Discourses 1, Chapter 3, like this. For if his error had been made through malice, they punished him humanely. So if it was through malice, they punished him humanely. If it was through ignorance, not only did they not punish him, they rewarded and honored him. So they, in other words, if it was an error that it was done through ignorance, they not punished him, but they might just give him, so they rewarded him and honored him. This mode of proceeding was well considered by them, for they judged that it was such importance to those who governed their armies, that they have a free and ready spirit, without other extrinsic hesitations in making policy, that they did not wish to add new difficulties and dangers to a thing in itself difficult and dangerous, since they thought that if they added them, no one could ever work virtuously. In other words, okay, this is the point about this. In other words, there is commanding people, and in a republic, there's going to be always the question of a lot of things that makes it difficult to command and things like this, take command. And the nature of these things is always going to be disputes about what is the best and what. So what you need, and the people can change their mind about what was, in other words, the people can be fickle too. Now the danger of your punishing, okay, for malice, if they made a mistake out of malice, you punish them, but not too excessively. But if you want officials to act decisively and act vigorously, right, in a free spirit, they have a free and ready spirit, right, and they don't want to have hesitations, extrinsic, outside hesitations on making policy, making an act. They wanted their military officials to look at the battlefield and not be dictated by outside concerns like keeping our bosses happy. Okay, they wanted to do something like that. Therefore, if they failed, you wanted them to. The Romans wanted to punish them. They wanted if it was not their fault, they did it through ignorance or a bad judgment. Okay, you did your best. But why did they did this for a reason. They wanted their officers to be able to always try, dare, do something. And they wanted to have a free spirit. They wanted to be them a free and ready spirit. Now he says, and that they would, because why? Because this is a dangerous, commanding people in fields, it's already a difficult and dangerous thing. And that if you added external things, extrinsic hesitations, right? That is keeping our bosses happy or keeping a fickle people happy. Well, this may not work. They might be, for instance, sending an army into Greece against Philip of Macedon, or into Italy against Hannibal, or against those people whom they had conquered before. right? They have to do different things. The captain who had been put in charge of such an expedition was worried by all the cares that go along with these affairs, which are grave and most important. So all these things may go in this place and this place, and there's always these problems that are tied to it. The captain who's been put in charge of these things are going to have cares that go around with these affairs, right? Which are grave and important. Now he goes, now if to such cares had been added many Roman examples of having crucified or otherwise killed those who had lost battles, it would have been impossible for captains to be able to decide strenuously among so many suspicions, right? Now, what is so interesting here is like this. Crucifixion of unsatisfactory general was not a Roman practice. Polybius notes an instance of such punishments by the Carthaginians, but none by the use of the Romans. The crucifixion of a Carthaginian general named Hannibal by his own soldiers after the defeat of the fleet he commanded is mentioned in the summary of Livy in book 17. So in other words, that the people or the being crucified, right? Crucifying you for errors will make it you can add difficulties for it, right? They would for a captain able to decide strenuous among so many suspicions. Therefore, since they judged that for such ones the ignominy of having loss was penalty enough. In other words, my hairs bother me. In other words, for such men, those captains, those leaders who are things, the fact that you lost was going to be ignominy enough. It's I've lost. The losing itself is going to be an ignominy. It's going to be your reputation is going to be distressed by the loss. That's a punishment enough, penalty enough. They did not wish to terrify them with another greater penalty. So the Romans' idea is that they said, listen, losing is bad enough. Their reputation will be hurt. Their ego and their reputation will be penalized enough. There's no need for some greater supernatural penalty. As to an error committed not through ignorance, there is one example. Sarus and Vigorous were in the field at Vili, each one of them in charge of one part of the army. Of the two, Sergius was facing the Tuscan could come. Virginus on the other side. It happened that when Sergius was assaulted by the Phalasians and by other people, he endured being defeated and put to flight before sending to Virginius for aid. On the other side, expecting him to be humiliated, Virginius preferred to see the dishonor of his fatherland and the ruin of the army, than to help him. A case truly benevolent and worthy of being noted, and from which to draw not a good conjecture concerning the Roman Republic, if both had not been punished, right? In a sense, it is true that whereas another republic would have punished them with the capital penalty, this one punished them with fines of money. In other words, again, the first example is these two people. The Sergius was facing the Tuscans, where the Tuscans would come, and Virgilius facing the other side. When it happened that Sergius was assaulted by the Philicians and other people, he endured being defeated and put to flight before sending aid to he's not going to send to Virgilius for aid. On the other side, expecting him to be humiliated, Virgilius preferred to see the dishonor of his fatherland and the ruin of his army than to help him. So I didn't ask, and he didn't offer. A case truly benevolent and worthy of being noted, from which to draw not a good conjecture concerning this. If both had not been punished, you need to punish them. So how do you punish them? They would have merited being executed, but not executed. They were fined instead. With fines of money. This came about not because their sins did not merit greater punishment, but because, for the reason already given, the Romans in this case wished to maintain their ancient customs. In other words, they wanted to maintain their ancient customs. They're not going to, they're going to do their customs. And the typical thing of their customs was we're not going to execute you for this. We're going to keep to our customs. We're going to fine you, right? As to the errors to ignorance, there is no example more beautiful than that of Varro. This is Livy 20, book 22. Because of his rashness, the Romans were defeated at Cannae by Hannibal, and that the Republic was in danger of losing its freedom. Nevertheless, because it was ignorance and not malice, not only did they not punish him, but they honored him. And at his return to Rome, the whole senatorial order went to meet him. Since they could not thank him for the fight, they thanked him because he returned to Rome and had not despaired of Roman affairs. In other words, they didn't thank him for fighting, they thanked him for coming back home and did not despair. In other words, it was interesting that, this is Cannae. Varro is lost, he defeats, it was bad judgment, he should not have done it. But when he comes back to Rome, when he returns to Rome, they don't punish him, the Senate meets him. Now, they don't meet him to thank him for fighting, they thank him for coming back to Rome. And when Papirius Cursor wished to have Fabius killed for having engaged in combat with the Samnites contrary to his command, among other reasons that were advanced by the father of Fabius against the obstinacy of the dictator, was that the Roman people had never done in any loss by its captains what Papirius wished to do in their victories. In other words, the case here is, this is Livy book 8 of his thing. In other words, Papirius Cursor, Fabius had what? Achieved the victory, right? He engaged in combat with the Samnites and won, but he disobeyed the dictator's orders, and the dictator was going to have him killed for disobeying his orders. And Fabius' father goes, "Wait a minute, the Romans never punished. We have had officials who made a mistake, and were never killed for it, and you're killing." In other words, he says, the father of Fabius, against the obstinacy of the dictator, was that the Roman people had never done in any loss by its captains what Papirius wished to do in their victories. This is the argument of this. And again, this example of this is, and in fact, this is why Fabius was not. The famous example of, I had to go verify what I thought about this. What happened was, and by the way, how does, there was in fact a scene that was not at the battle, but it was after the scene where the dictator wanted to punish Fabius, and they did it so in the Senate, right? And they were going to, and he had and the problem was the people themselves came to support Fabius, and what he did and accomplished. And the father said this thing, and there was support for this. Now, what Machiavelli does not hint is what Livy does suggest. How Fabius solves this is, instead of this idea that after the challenge, Fabius throws himself in Livy's account. Fabius throws himself at the feet of Papirius, the dictator, and begs for mercy, but in front of everyone. Okay, and this is the problem now. I think I can see what he's saying. That now the dictator had either he could do his will and appear merciless and then once he gave up power, would be forced to give up power, no one would respect him. So therefore, by doing this, Fabius really, by saying, "Listen, I fall on your," falls on his feet. He humbles himself in front of the dictator. And remember, a dictator is not the dictator in our kind of sense. Dictator is a office in Rome and Republican history that's emergency. It's an emergency magistrate that has total absolute power, even above the laws. And that this is the question here: is that he has the power of life and death, but it was the Senate. In other words, at the end they were before he handed back his power to the Senate. He wanted to address the matter of Fabius, right? He was angry with Fabius. He was going to try to justify the punishment for Fabius. And this is why what Fabius does here, and that people challenged him, and Machiavelli gives us this example, and suggests that it's in republics it is mercy. It is the Roman Republic. It was the mercy that we didn't want to go beyond our punishments of our ancestors, right? That's the example that he gives. But Livy suggests that and Machiavelli is silent about this. It's again go back into the last chapter. There was two ways a captain could go against a prince: either rise up and go after him, or humble himself. He humbles himself here. So Machiavelli is silent about that in a republic, when you have the dictator, this is like a prince. So therefore, that is something we should reflect on in that sense. But let's stop here. If you have any comments or questions, please give them, and I will respond to them when I see them. Second, if you like it, hit the like button. Hit the like button, please. It helps the things. If you liked it, share it far and wide. Share it on your social media. Share it with your friends. Also, if you've not subscribed, please subscribe. Encourage others to come check out the channel. Check out the things. There's other Machiavelli stuff. We've had 2 runs through the Prince, and there's other things that we in our playlist that you might have some interest in if you're interested in these things. Another thing is that therefore, why do I ask these kind of things? Is because commenting, liking, sharing, and subscribing all increases the algorithm, so people can find this site up. We'll find and more people may come across this when searching for, let's say, discourses. Okay, Machiavelli discourse. Another thing you can do is, if you didn't like it, you can, or say that you had disagreements with something, you can just simply, you can thumb down it, but say why in the comments, so that we can learn. People can benefit from it. What was wrong, or what did you disagree with? This way, people can benefit from this, and we're doing this for education purposes, right? Another thing is, if you want to follow me, you can follow me on social media. The links are below. If you want to know more about me as a scholar and a researcher, and check out my research and things like that, you can check the academic social media links beneath those. And then last but not least, if you want to help me to do what I do, because remember we've had video problems, and we're trying to catch this done, and this costs money. You can do so by assisting through Patreon or Subscribe Star. Or you can, how can I say, another thing you can do is you can check out buy one of my books listed below, and you can do it through your local bookstore or through an online distributor like Amazon, Google, or Libris or whatever, or you can order it through the publisher directly. Well, that's it. We'll look next at chapter 32. Take care and have a great day. Bye-bye.